Brought to you by Gamezy. Win up to rupees 5 crores every day. Download the app now.
It is perhaps telling that in an IPL 2022 match, which saw the Rajasthan Royals pull off quite the upset win over the Lucknow Super Giants, the biggest talking point remains Ravichandran Ashwin and his retired out. Now, obviously, as we have stated and covered before, this is very much within the framework, it's within the regulations. There is no grey area whatsoever. A batsman can indeed be retired out. But as we have also mentioned, this is in fact only the fourth time in T20 history that this has happened. And it's also the first time in the IPL that it has happened. That is rather surprising when you think about it, because in 15 years of IPL cricket, no one has quite had the idea that, hey, if this one particular batsman is struggling a little bit, we can retire him out and send in someone who might be able to strike the ball a little bit cleaner. But obviously, seeing Ashwin part of something that could be perceived as controversial got plenty of people talking. And of course, there was plenty of reactions both from Ashwin, both from Rajasthan head coach Kumar Sangakkara, as well as the cricketing world. And today, we are going to check out some of the best ones. So let's start with what Ashwin himself said. And he mentioned very clearly that it was an in-the-moment decision. And he said that it's a team game that we often forget in the euphoria, but then it's an important aspect of the game that we haven't considered. And I think he's hitting the nail right on the head there, because no team before this has actually done this, and despite it being within the rules. Now, Kumar Sangakkara also had something interesting to say. He said that it was the right time to actually pull off that move. He also said that this was entirely a collaborative decision and it wasn't just something that the team management took upon themselves. He said that Ashwin himself was asking from the field as well, and we had discussed just before that as to where we would do that. So, this was something that everyone had agreed on, and it was a strategy that, when you look back, actually did make a little bit of sense, because Riyan Parag might have only scored 8 runs, but that's 1 6 that he hit in many ways actually did have some sort of a positive impact, because Rajasthan were able to pull off quite the close win. Nevertheless, there were plenty of reactions from notable cricket experts, and we picked out some of the best of them, so here we go. Irfan Pathan, former Indian cricketer, says, first ever in IPL history, retired out. Who else but Ashwin? And you can't help but agree with him. Of course, this time it wasn't perceived anywhere near as badly as the so-called Munkading incident that had happened, ironically, against the Rajasthan Royals with Ashwin on the opposition team. Rohan Gavaskar said that he's surprised it took so long for it to happen in T20 cricket. And you know what? I have to say that he too makes a very good point. Lisa Sthalekar, well-known former cricketer, says retired out. It was only a matter of time before we saw it in the IPL 2022, and it makes a lot of sense. Again, can't help but agree with that statement, because if you have a batsman who's out there not quite striking the ball as cleanly, rather than wait for him to get dismissed, you simply retire him out. However, former England cricketer Ovesh Shah had a slightly differing opinion on things, where he said that he's not a fan of retiring out a batsman. You're messing with the flow of the game. Soon there will be players being retired out after the power play, and then also guys retired after 15 overs, as the coaches will send specialists in for death batting. I mean, you can debate whether or not it's against the quote-unquote spirit of the game. What cannot be debated is the fact that it is entirely legal. So if Ovesh Shah is indeed right, and it does happen in future games as well, I don't think there's any way that you can find fault with it unless you rewrite the regulations entirely. And of course, there's Ian Bishop, who, as we all know, as a former West Indian cricketer and current commentator, he said that Ashwin retired out is fascinating T20 tactics. T20 is causing us to rethink the way we conceive the game in the 21st century. And you know what? It's hard to find much fault with that logic, because thanks to T20, we have indeed seen quite a bit of innovation that has taken place in the game. And this isn't really an innovation as much as it is taking a rule which is already there in the regulations and putting it to use well before anyone else could actually figure it out. So what is it that you think about this entire debate? Do you think that more teams should be employing it? Or do you think that this is a tactic that might just be put to bed sooner rather than later, because it might just go against the spirit of the game? Whatever it may be, let us know in the comments below, and don't forget, as always, to like the video, share the video with your friends, subscribe to the channel if you haven't already. Thank you so much for joining us. My name is Shane Dias, and keep tuned for more IPL related content, but also content from the world of sports all around the world. Thank you so much.